All right. A very good evening to everyone. You all can hear me? All right. So good evening. My name is Eeshani and welcome to today's boot camp in which we will be working with sentiment analysis using Excel. I know when we talk about or think about Excel and a lot of new things that have come up, the AI side that has come up, it feels very exciting to do it. However, disclaimer that all these exciting AI features that Excel has now is for Excel 365. So today's session also would require you as a participant, if you want to do the hands-on along with my work, then you will require Office 365 to work with it. So let's begin before I give you the data set. This word sentiment analysis is used quite a bit and has been used quite a bit in mostly the world of Python and R, where people are picking up data from Twitter, analyzing the data, or picking data from e-commerce website and analyzing the data. So the very first thing is, what do you understand by sentiment analysis? What is sentiment analysis? If anyone wants to share. Yes, Raj?
Basically, it's like we are gathering data from people who are using social media, like their reactions, their feedback.
Right. So any business that is there right now is depending a lot on how end user felt about the service, the product, and the way we do it is through a lot of feedback. Now, the feedback that is given to us is in form of a text, right? And trust me, in Excel, working and understanding this text part is not easiest thing to do. So typically, this kind of work was not done in Excel, and it was done with more powerful tools, a lot of statistics behind it in Python or R. So, what is sentiment analysis? It is to understand how a person felt about, or what is the opinion, or what is the emotion of a person for an event, for a product, for a service that you have provided. And why do we need it? Because all the businesses are using it to understand the customer sentiment, right? It helps us to track the brand reputation because if I'm getting positive reviews by people, then it means, and we can find out, okay, what the person likes, which reviews are positive, which reviews are negative. If there's negative review, then I can easily filter in Excel, figure out what are the problems, why people are giving a negative review, and work on it. And it is helping us to make data-driven decisions. So it helps me to understand my customer sentiments, helps me to understand the brand reputation, and take a data-driven decision. Can you give me examples of where do you think, any example of where do you think sentiment analysis is used quite a lot? What kind of data have a lot of usage of sentiment analysis? Reviews, yes. It could be a hotel review. That's a data set we're going to work on. Social media, right? Twitter. Like when demonetization happened, I remember we did a workshop on the sentiment of demonetization. Were the people happy? Were the people sad? Election polls, exactly what are the views of the people, right? So, social media has been the one where sentiment analysis has done quite a bit. And but now, if you think about Amazon, if you look at any e-commerce website, where people are engaging with the business, there is always a place where people have to leave the review. So that is where we are going to work with. We are going to work with today a data set which is based on customer feedback. And the customer feedback is for a hotel's market research. Absolutely. That's in my slide too, Amrita. Great. And we are going to work on the data set which is related to hotels. So I have picked about this data set was huge. I have reduced it quite a bit. It was around more than 1 lakh rows of data was there. And I have reduced this data set. So I'm going to share this drive link with you. So anybody who has Office 365 can easily work with me. If you don't, it's a good knowledge to have. And we will mix a little bit of Excel into the new AI tool and get some business output out of it. All right. So this is the data set. I'm going to show you the data set. The data set has various review dates, and the review dates vary from 2015, 16, and 17, 3 years. Uh, there were a lot of hotels named. I have picked 40 hotels, and we will look at how a hotel is performing. Then the third column consists of the nationality of the reviewer. Then there are two separate columns of negative review. One is of positive review, and what was the feedback rating that a person had given to us. Now, many of you might have thought, like, why do I need a sentiment analysis when I have already bifurcated a negative and a positive? But this is bifurcated. If I want to find out overall, based on whatever is given as negative, whatever is given as positive, what is the overall sentiment of the visitor for the particular hotel? So it may happen that when we get our data set, and even before you start the sentiment analysis, the very first thing you will have to do is clean up the data. I've already sent you the clean data. Over here, the dates were a little off out of format. Few things, like I told you, I reduced the number of data sets. Few columns were given which were not necessary. I've removed those. Few words which should not be there have to be removed. For example, a simple thing like in a negative review column. Um, at the end of the day, these are all models which are running in the back end. It's not like human is sitting and understanding the words exactly. So in the negative review column, anywhere where I have this word called no negative, do you think it's required? No negative? Is it an important thing to keep? No negative? No, right? I don't want no and negative. Both are like kind of negating the effect of negative by putting a no in front. Hence, it would be nice if we could get rid of this word called no negative from here, right? So how do we do it? Excel users, we can select Control F. We are looking for find and replace, no negative. So I only want to remove where a person has no negative, right? And replace it with nothing. And I want the entire cell content to match. I don't want to remove no negative from in between the sentences. Only when the entire cell content has only the word no negative, then I want to remove it. And I'm going to replace all. And I've got 1136 replacement made. So wherever there was no negative, now it's an empty cell that I have, right? So a little bit of cleanup for a better and a more accurate analysis would be required. A lot of time icons are there in the reviews. You will have to get rid of it. Sometimes people just fill in some information like a number, but don't really write a text. Anytime you make things mandatory, people just fill a garbage value into it and move on. So all these kind of things you will have to see before you run your sentiment analysis. Okay. So how many of you are going to be working with me? How many of you who all have Office 365? Anyone who has Office 365? No one? And everybody was able to open the data set? Yes? Okay. So let's begin. Like I said, all the sentiment analysis was done through a lot of coding. Now we are moving in the era where we are moving from heavy coding to no code or a low code technology. And with AI coming to such a big way into our lives, it has made our work even more efficient and faster, right? So today's task, what we're going to do, we are having information about 30 hotels and 30 hotels data over various years. So it's not that one hotel data is given only one time. So for example, if I pick club quarters and click OK, so I have about 226 reviews for this particular hotel called club quarters. So this will help me to understand about the overall feeling of the customers for the hotel, right? So each hotel is happening multiple times. So that's why they are about 4,500 rows of data, and all it has is the value of 30 hotels, right? Now, what we want to do, I have columns called negative and positive review, but the task is to find out based on both of them, what are the overall review. So in order to get an overall review, I will have to bring both the text together into one single cell, right? So how will we do that? Any ideas? How do I bring both the text together in one single view, in one single cell? What should I do?
The merger center.
Merge in center? Not at all. Merge in center cannot keep the data from two cells. It deletes one cell's data and keep only one. Merge in center is wrong. Anyone else? I want the content of both the cells to be put in one. Text join, concatenate, absolutely correct. We have to concatenate. And in today's time, there is nothing better than a function called text join. So I'm going to use this function of text join and equal to text join. Role of text join is to join the content of two cells or multiple cells. I'm going to give the delimiter as a space, a dot, and a space because I want to add two things together, probably not a space at the end. Over here, okay. And then ignore empty cells, yes, because sometimes I may not have any value in the negative review or I might not have any value in the positive review. So I want to ignore the empty cells. So I'll put it as true. And then what are the text I need to combine? So I want to combine the positive review and the negative review, T2 and E2. Close the bracket, press enter. So there is no, in this case, there was no negative review. Let's just not give any delimiter. Just let it be blank. All right. And I want to make sure I trim the data so that I don't get any extra values over here. This
Hi,
looks
ma'am.
better. Yes, Yashin.
I have a question. I have worked on sentiment analyzing before, where we use BERT model and transformers. Since NLP mostly deals with unstructured data, it is possible to clean it in Excel.
Is it possible to clean it in Excel?
Yeah.
Not all the time. Excel
Okay.
cleanup is also very tedious.
Okay.
So, some of the functions, yes, a little bit of cleaning we can do, but not like, for example, icons. There is no way I can have a function that removes icons. So, a lot of manual intervention is there when it comes to Excel and cleanups also.
Got it, ma'am. And one more thing, ma'am. In Excel, which model do you use for sentiment analyzing, or it's just a concept like technical things we are using for polarity scores for sentiment analyzing?
So, today we are going to use an add-in called Azure Machine Learning. So, all the algorithm of machine learning is going to be used over here, but we are the end user. We are not going to look at any code. We are not going to write any code. We'll just use the add-in over here.
Got it, ma'am. Thank you so much.
All right. So once this is done, I'm just going to copy paste and fill up the entire 4,000 rows of data and just remove my formulas and simply copy paste to get the values only. All right. Just let me know how many of you are working with me so that I know how much pausing I need to give in between the steps. We would love to have hands-on in our workshops, in our boot camps, because I think that gives you a better understanding of what you're trying to learn. Nobody's working with me? All right. Anytime you have doubt, do let me know. I can repeat the concept. So over here, I've got a column called overall review. Now, we are not going to use any codes. Excel is not a platform which uses a lot of codes, but thankfully, a lot of add-ins have been added. So in my home tab, under add-in, we are going to look for Azure machine learning. So because in my case, I've already used it, hence it's appearing over here. Otherwise, in the search add-in, you can put in Azure machine learning and click on it. Now, once you click on it and it's loading, it will show you two things. One is Titanic Survivor Predictor. This is like some of the data sets are already in place over here. Where is the link for the data set? 1 second, I'll send it again to you. On. All right, there you go. So over here, first one is a data set. Second one is the text sentiment analysis. That's what we are trying to do over here. So once you click on it, it is going to show you something called view schema. Once you click on view schema, because at the end of the day, a coding is being run at the back end. Even if we are not writing, a machine learning algorithm is happening. So for the algorithm to work, we will have to follow the schema properly. So if you look at the schema, it says the input, one column input is there, and the header is tweet underscore text, and it has to be a data type of string. I have given the header as overall review, which is not going to work when I try to use it because the name is not going to match with the input. So I'll have to make it tweet text exactly matching the what you call the cases. So I'm going to match the cases and name it tweet underscore text. It is a type of string. It's all text value. So that works. When we go to the output, it is telling me that it is going to give me two columns of output. One is the sentiment. Now, when you talk about sentiment, we are going to use one single word to understand the sentiment: positive, negative, or neutral. And we will get a score as well. Now, the sentiment is basically an output of your score. So the score is given from 0 to 1. The closer you are to 1, it is going to be a positive sentiment. The closer you are to 0, it will be a negative sentiment. And in between, like 0.5, when you're around that area, it will be shown as a neutral sentiment. So input has to be, the column of input has to be, the header has to be put as tweet underscore text for this to work. And we are going to get two outputs. One is sentiment, which will be only one word in it, positive, negative, or neutral. And then we'll get a score, which I told you varies from 0 to 1. We can turn it into a percentage from 0 to 100%. And we will get our output. So once this is ready, very simple. What it needs to predict is an input, which can be a range. Either we can select or we can type in. And then we have to give one single cell for the output. And then it's going to, populate all the cells for us. So I'm going to click over here and pick up from G1, from my header all the way down. Give this data set over here. My data has header because G1 has the word tweet underscore text. Where do I want the output to be? My output cell, I would want to be one empty cell over here. The cell, which is H2. So I can type in H2 since it doesn't have a button where I can go and select and include the headers. What will be the headers of the output? One header will be called sentiment. Second header will be called score. Once this is done, and got it. And I'm going to go ahead and click on predict. So once I click on predict, the code is running in the backend. And very fast, I should have given H1. Hold on, I'm just going to run it again. I had to start from H1 because my headers have to go there. So I'm going to start from H1 is my output. And I also do auto predict on and predict once again. Okay, so I've got my sentiment, I've got my score, and like I told you, anything which is 1 or closer to 1 will have a positive, and anything which is closer to 0 will be negative. So if I look at all the negative values over here, so the value ranges anywhere from almost 0 to 0.448, closer to 0. And if somehow this is sent that is not working for me. Clear filters. And let's say if I pick anything which is neutral, over here it is closer to 0.5. So this is how the score is predicting are we using this database service from, are we using database service from Azure? Yes, that's what we are doing. So I should have gone through the entire slide over here, but what we are doing over here is we are using a Azure machine learning add-in, which is leveraging Microsoft cloud-based machine learning services, Azure platform, and all the algorithm is in the back end. We are not doing any coding in the front end. Okay. So this is how your sentiment analysis is being done. Auto predict, I need to turn it off. Okay, once this is done, now the work doesn't stop really over here because all this has done is given me positive or negative. Now, one thing is there, even though it gives you positive and negative, but when it might not be giving an absolutely correct outputs also, because if you would not have removed that no negative thing, you will see the lot of things which are very, very positive. It would have pushed it into negative sentiment also. So a lot of things we have to take care in reading this sentiment. Now, our work is not stopping over here. This is just what we did over here is just we created a column of sentiment in the score. But what we would like to do over here is if I select a hotel, because we are trying to see how a hotel has been performing, right? A sentiment of customers of a particular hotel. So if I select a particular hotel, I would like to see how many reviews are there. What is the overall review of the hotel? How many positive reviews? How many negative reviews? How many neutrals? I would have like to see a graph of over a period of time, how has there been a shift in a positive or negative or a neutral review, and the trend of review. This is just going to be a simple graph, like a column chart or a bar chart, and then I'll also look at the trend of the review over a period of time. So once your data set is ready, all we are going to do is convert it into a table once, because that helps us to format as a table. And my table has headers. We are going to go to insert a pivot table. And once our pivot table is ready, let's try to use. All right. So what I want is a couple of things. Number one, I want the number of reviews. So that I can give simply by putting any of the text value over here and this is going to give me a count. So total number of reviews are 4,505. I'm going to rename this pivot table as count of review. Then I would like to have a pivot table where I can find out how many positive reviews were there, how many negative reviews were there. So that we can do by putting the sentiment in the row. So I've got negative, positive, and neutral got converted into sentiment, I think. Neutral, positive, and negative, right? So negative, positive, and neutral reviews have come up. And I'm going to name it as review by sentiment. Okay. And the third thing we would like to see is the trend. So again, I'm going to pick this up, copy, paste it, and I would also like to see the dates. So I'm going to put the review date in front of the rows. Instead of looking at the quarters, I'm going to group it with only month and year. And okay. So I've got month-wise, year-wise, what has been the reviews, number of negative reviews, positive reviews, and the neutral reviews. And I'm going to name this thing as trend of review. Now, once this is done, this is our summary sheet. What we are going to do is, in order to analyze the data better, we are going to create a very small dashboard. So I'm going to go over here, call it my dashboard. I'm not going to focus too much on the design part today, just a basic dashboard to see the entire sentiment analysis. To create a dashboard, we are going to use slicers, which work with pivots or tables. So I'm going to select one of the pivot, go to insert, and under filters, I'm going to put a slicer, and the slicer is going to be with the hotel name. And okay, I'm going to cut it and place it in my dashboard. Right? I'm not doing too much on the formatting side. I could have increased the number of columns or the number of rows for the hotel name since there are 30 of them. But for now, I'm not doing it. Second thing, we would want to create charts for the sentiments. So over here, I'm going to select insert, and we can create a simple bar chart. So over here, I've got negative, positive, and neutral. Clean it up a little bit and get rid of this guy. Hide the buttons. Let's give the data labels to make our life easier. Get rid of this axis, and over here give a title, count of review by sentiment. Done. I would sort the data as well, so that it's easier for me to understand whenever I pick up a hotel, what is the sentiment? Is it negative, more of negative, or more of positive review? Cut it, put it over here, paste. So this is one. Now I'm going to go ahead and create the trend as well. So going back to the summary, insert. This time to create a trend, we typically use the line chart. So we're going to create a line chart. This is not working in our favor because of the way we have created a pivot table. So I don't want negative positives to be in the x-axis. I would want them to be on the column so that, and this is still not coming as per what we want. We want month on the x-axis, sentiments over there. So very easy way to go to select data and let's just switch rows and columns. Much better. 1 second. Switch and 2015 negative. All right. So it did not work in our favor. January, March. Somebody's trying to draw on my screen. Please don't do that. Okay. Okay, so year will also go in the axis, and now I think we should get our analysis correct. Again, we are going to get rid of few things like the buttons over here, hiding the buttons, getting rid of the grid lines, and I think we are good to go. So we cut it, take it to our dashboard, and we are going to paste it. And let's see, close this. So I've got two charts talking about the sentiment. One is telling me what is the overall, is it a positive, is it a negative sentiment about a hotel? And one is telling me the trend of the sentiment. Has over a period of time we improved in our services and people are showing more positive and less of negative? How is it going on? And the total number of reviews I can also put on top as a card. So to make it a card, I'm just going to take few cells, merge them, and on the top take few cells, merge them on the top. This can be my total reviews, no positive negative, but just the overall reviews, and equal to the reviews are kept in the summary sheet. So I'm going to go ahead and pick it up from here. And okay, so total reviews that we have is 4005, but this is for all the hotels. All right. Now, if you guys have been using Excel, then you would know that, Slicer is nothing but an interactive tool that we have. And once I click over here, you can see that only thing changed is the total review. Nothing else changed over here, right? But I want my other two charts also to change. Now, in order for the other two charts to change, I have to work with the slicer and go to report correction. This is the reason I was giving names to the pivots so that I know which pivot table is which one. I want to change review by sentiment. I want to change the trend of the review as well. So now this slicer or this filter is connected to all the three visuals in our dashboard. So once we click OK, and if I click at any one particular hotel, I can see there's more positive, negative, and the neutral is there. Neutral reviews have risen. Positive reviews have gone down drastically from May to June. Negative reviews also have gone down, right? Similarly, if I look at Good Hotel London, no neutral, but this is very close call. And positives have gone up, but negative reviews have gone down. So it means as a management, we've taken some actions in order to ensure the positive reviews are there. And we can click and check on other hotels as well, right? Now that I'm looking at the dashboard, I have a I feel this chart should be a pie chart with the percentage rather than numbers. So I'm going to go ahead and convert it into a donut or a pie and click OK and change the data labels as well to show them as a percentage and category name. I don't want the value. And I'm going to change the font to white so that it's visible. Okay, this is much better. Let's just increase the size also a little bit. This is much better. So I can see overall 57% is positive, 41 is negative. Our city, 69% positive, so that's a very good thing. 1% neutral, 30% negative. It has been a zigzag thing. There have been months where we had gone down in terms of positive reviews. So we might want to investigate further to understand what happened. And similarly, any hotel we pick, 86% positive. So that's a good thing. However, in last month, it went flat and then down. So maybe nobody gave a review. That might also be the reason. Okay, that's why you might see a dip. Out of 31 reviews, 68 are positive. So this is able to convert the text that we started with. We started with these two columns of negative review and positive review. Instead of someone sitting and understanding the text, and remember I told you this data set was for 1 lakh rows of data. So imagine on 1 lakh rows of data, if somebody had to sit and understand these texts, it would be very, very difficult task. So with the introduction of these kind of AI, like we can use Azure, a machine learning algorithm over here. And there is one more thing that you can use as an add-in. There is also something called Excel Lab, which creates a connection with ChatGPT. You need to put an OpenAI API key over here. And this can also do sentiment analysis for you. Okay. Unfortunately, I've used up all my tokens for today, so I will not be able to show you how to work with the Excel lab. Again, this is coming from an add-in. However, we have already done a video in which I talk about AI in Excel. So that is available on our YouTube channel. Feel free to go through it, over where I've given a demonstration of how Excel lab, by enabling something called the functions that we can use in Excel, but we are actually working with ChatGPT and bringing the data in Excel, we can do sentiment analysis. All right, any questions for me? Any questions? No questions? For example, if the user has put something weird data instead of review, so that cleaning happens. Like, I think Yasin had asked this question. We are talking in today's era about not a very simplistic data that we are collecting. Unstructured data is there, variety of data is there. So unfortunately, in Excel specifically, these kind of things are a little difficult on cleaning. So that's what I said. Probably little bit usage of filters and making or sorting. Like let's say sorting we do. So we might get all the cells together where there are icons kept, or there are cells together where there are some numbers kept, or there may be cells together where there is blank cells. So all this cleaning has to be done. Right now, it is through manual intervention in Excel. Nothing is there that I can easily work with, any function or any tool that I can easily work with cleanup. And cleanups take quite a bit time in Excel. So no, not an easy thing. Is it possible to know how is behind the scenes of Azure ML add-in is working to do the sentiment analysis? Not a possibility. The reason is add-ins have been created. If you got to know behind the scene, you will also create an add-in and sell it. So not a possibility to know what is happening behind the scene of anything that you are using in Excel. Okay, but if you are going to learn machine learning, and as a part of machine learning, you learn text analytics. So in text analytics, you learn what are the statistics, what are the algorithms behind analyzing a text. So there you will get to know the backend process of using it through the codes. Over here, probably not. All right. All right, guys, I hope you had fun. This should be another reason for everyone to move on to Excel, the Microsoft subscription, because trust me, with the every week, I feel there is something new that has been added, which makes our work easier and easier. And, like, for example, not tried till now, but Python is there. So a lot of new tools are there, which is making our work more efficient, more faster. and it would be nice to stay in the latest version of Excel. All right. So thank you so much for being such a great audience. And in case you guys have any clarifications regarding this presentation that we did, you can always connect to me on LinkedIn, ask your questions over there. And once you start experimenting again, if you have any questions, when you have this Office 365 and you're trying to work with it, do let me know. I'll be more than happy to help. All right, guys. Thank you so much. Take care. Have a good evening.